All right, man. Let's get into it, man. And we're gonna set it off here with the Baltimore Ravens, man. The Baltimore Ravens, man, doing the NFL preview show here with the AFC North, man, setting it off with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, last year, Ravens 12-5. You know, we know Lamar Jackson is legit. John Harbaugh, probably a future Hall of Fame coach, but they just have not been able to get over the hump. That hump being the Kansas City Chiefs, in particular, and they came up short again last year. But BetMGM got them at 11 and a half on the win total this year. But what are your thoughts about the Ravens and some of the things, some of the issues they've been having as far as getting to that championship level that they want to be at, that their expectations are there in Baltimore for them to be a Super Bowl contending team, but yet they have not gotten there with, in particular, this combination of Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh. Talk to him, Coach Pat. What's the deal with the Baltimore Ravens, man?
Uh, the deal with the Baltimore Ravens is, man, it's self-inflicted wounds, man. They're a super good team. They started off slow last year. I think they started off like 0-2 last year with a hapless loss to the Raiders, and it was just crazy last year, man. And then they went on a historic run, man. They went on a historic run, and everybody knows in the NFL, man, that the Ravens are the creme de la creme when it comes to exciting plays. Their offense is amazing. Their run game was amazing last year. And when they got to the playoffs, they did very well until they met the Chiefs with self-inflicted wounds. Lamar Jackson with some turnovers. Mark Andrews with 2 crucial drops and a fumble. You know, it's just weird with the Ravens, man. I don't see why they haven't won a championship yet. They have arguably the best quarterback in the league. They have arguably the best running game in the league, arguably one of the best defenses in the league, arguably one of the better coaches in the league. So it's just a weird thing that happens to them when they get in the playoffs. And that's a reflection of Lamar Jackson. As much as I love Lamar Jackson as a quarterback, as a person, as a player, when it comes to the playoffs, he pretty much, you know, lays an egg sometimes. Now, was last year all his fault? No. After he did his turnover, he got it together. And then Mark Andrews, the guy on the screen, he did his turnover. So it's like, it's just weird on how they do things over there in the playoffs, and that's why they continue to struggle. But Coach, man, what you got about the Ravens, man?
I mean, the Ravens, you guys hit it on the head, in terms of, the ability to get over the hump. Those turnovers at critical junctures, it really takes away from, a season that, was extremely productive. Why they can't get over the hump, it is baffling. You have the talent, whether it's offensively, at times defensively, you have talented players. Why they're not able to close out, Pat, you said it. It points to Lamar. Harbaugh has won a championship at least, so you can say he has gotten there. So the next logical assumption is it Lamar? Now, I'm not taking anything away from Lamar Jackson. I mean, his overall abilities. I mean, if you take a look at Baltimore overall last year, Pat, you can pull up the stats. You can see that overall passing, they had over 4,000 yards passing. They even had 3,100 yards rushing. I mean, if you go and you take a look at the league rank in terms of their offensive rank, in terms of yards, they were number one. I mean, that speaks volumes to the type of offense that they have in reference to their offensive abilities. I mean, if we could take a look at, Lamar Jackson, you see what he was capable of doing as an offensive producer. 4,172 yards rushing, 41 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. I mean,
crazy.
That's
that's crazy. That's elite status right there. I mean, now if we go in and we break down also their rushing attack, over 3,000 yards. Derrick Henry, 1,900 yards rushing. Lamar Jackson, another 900 yards. Again, 30 over 3,000 yards rushing yards, 4,000 yards passing, 7,000 yards in total offense. So it's production there. But why? Like Pat said, those missed with Andrews, the missed touchdown reception or fumble. I'm sorry. Things of that nature. What is it? The guys can't handle the pressure because we see the offensive production is there. We see this team is an elite team. So I'm finished with the stats, Pat. So there you go. It's just really baffling when you sit down and you look at the Baltimore Ravens, because they should have another touchdown. I mean, another Super Bowl, at least one more. Under the Lamar Jackson era, they should. Now, is it a product of you just got the Chiefs in your conference? Is it about the Chiefs? Because because you can also argue that with another team that we're not talking about today, but there's some good teams in the AFC. So is it that it's just because of the Chiefs? Because we see the production is there. And they've also had the opportunity to have home field advantage. So it's not always you got to travel at those critical junctures. So is it the Chiefs? Because right now, logically, and everyone says the quarterback is the reason why you win and the reason why you lose. So yes, they're going to point to Lamar. I'm not saying it's strictly Lamar. It's a team sport. So again, is it about the Chiefs because they're in the same conference? So what do you guys think?
Yeah, man. I do think it is a lot about the Chiefs, man, but you can't point to the opponent. You got to beat the opponent. That's your job. You got to take down the Chiefs, and you cannot blame the Chiefs for doing what the Chiefs do. Beat them. I mean, so I do think this team has work to do, and they have been getting busy though in this all season. And we're gonna take a look at that. Strength of schedule ranking 9th. So it's gonna be tough for Baltimore. We'll get into the schedule a little bit later, but let's look at some of the pieces that they lost. All right, starting here with the key losses for the Ravens. As we take a look here, big name stands out to me, man. Patrick McCarry going to the Jaguars. Josh Johnson leaving for the Commanders. Nelson Aguilar still a free agent. Deontay Johnson heading over to the Browns. Deontay Johnson to the Browns. They lost Malik Harrison to the Steelers. Brandon Stevens to the Jets. Tre'Davious White, that's a big name, going over to the Buffalo Bills. One name, though, we do have to talk about. Kicker Justin Tucker. With some legal things going on. So Justin Tucker, we don't talk a lot about kickers here, but he is one of the premier kickers in the NFL. Has been for years, and this thing that they got going on, Justin Tucker not being there, man, that could be a thing here for the Ravens, man. But what are your thoughts? Who do you think is some of the big losses here that they have as we take a look at this list?
Just looking at it, I can't really say Justin Tucker's a huge loss because of the legal issues that he's going through. You already knew that was going to happen. But, Patrick McCarry, You got Chris Board to the Giants. Their special teams ace Malik Harrison is actually an underrated linebacker, and I think he's going to be a beast over there with the Steelers. So they're going to have to see him twice a year. And Brandon Stevens for the that's going over there to the Jets. He got toasted a little bit last year, but he still was one of their main defensive backs that they had last year going into the playoffs, and he made some key plays for him. So not too much of a hurting list. Michael Pierce retiring, that kind of hurt them too, because that's one of the big guys in the middle to stop that run. But it's not too many losses here, man. Coach, what you think?
You know me, it always starts with the trenches. I mean, you know, and Baltimore has always been known for, you know, having good trenches on both sides of the ball. So Makari is a big loss, especially with the offensive production when we just went over the stats, especially in the run game. I mean, you need guys that can move the line of scrimmage, and, you know, his contributions to helping open the lanes for Derrick Henry to get into the rushing lanes and to be productive. That's key. So I do think it's important there, you know, with his loss, and how do you replace him? What do you do to replace him? And then, of course, you know, the Board to the Giants in terms of special teams, because with Tucker, you're losing Tucker, and now Board. Again, that's special teams. That's a key component to, you know, what you're trying to do as a team, because football is not only offense and defense. It's 3 levels, it's 3 layers, and special teams can help change the whole dynamic of a game. So, you know, losing Board definitely is going to hurt, you know, defensively. Harrison, White, and then Stevens, you know, that hurts you going into your second and on the back end of your defense. So, you know, how do you replace these players? That's also going to be a big factor. But right now, you know, that's a key thing right now in terms of their losses.
Yeah, they had 3 cornerbacks. As you mentioned here, 3 cornerbacks, man. That they lost here, so it's going to be interesting to see how they replace some of the pieces in that secondary. But let's get to it. So looking at some of the additions that they made here in free agency, guys, of course, re-signing back Derrick Henry, Rashad Bateman getting an extension. So they pretty much, you know, taking care of a lot of their guys. Ronnie Stanley re-signed, Jair Alexander, Chidobe Azui, not sure, but anyway, man, who do you think stands out on this list, man, when you look at some of the additions that the Ravens made here in free agency?
It's really not the additions, to be honest with you. The one main addition is Jair Alexander. Now that helps them out a lot. Losing Brandon Stevens and bringing Jair Alexander, that's a no-brainer. But Rashad Bateman coming back, Derrick Henry coming back, Ben Cleveland coming back, you know, Ronnie Stanley coming back. Like, they kept all their teams. I mean, all their main guys. So look for them to do some of the same things they did last season. Rashad Bateman actually got better. I mean, you do have a veteran at D-Hop to teach those guys how to be professionals and go out there and make clutch catches for them. You know, he'll do that for them next year. But this is going to be the same team that's going to be rocking and rolling this year, man. What you think, Coach?
One of the key players, key additions, or key players to keep, to be honest with you, Patrick Ricard, the fullback. Yeah. I mean, he plays a big part in what they do offensively and helping Derrick Henry in the running lane. So, you know, you guys hit all the other key ones. Cleveland, re-signing your offensive lineman. I spoke about it earlier in terms of losses. They had a good offensive line. So, you know, you got to keep Cleveland, you know, Notable Stanley, you know, that definitely helps. Adding Alexander, you know, is definitely very helpful. And then, you know what? Cooper Rush as a backup quarterback. I mean, You don't want to, say, oh, is he on the same par as Lamar Jackson? No, but you still need a backup quarterback that if he has to come in for a game or two, you can trust that he's going to help lead the team. And Cooper Rush has proven that in this league. We as Giants fans, there are times where we watch him like, how, but he's helped that team win. So, that's extremely important to, this Baltimore Ravens team with all these contracts that they have bringing in or re-signing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Coach, man. D-Hop though, like DeAndre Hopkins, man, does he still have it, man? Can he get some chemistry with Lamar Jackson, man, and open up that passing game a little bit more, man, for the Baltimore Ravens here? The passing game has let them down in certain, particularly their pass catchers. As Pat mentioned, Andrews with the drops, and of course, my man was it Flowers, man, the previous season. But let's take a look at who they picked up in the draft. Speaking of, first round pick for the Baltimore Ravens was Macari Starks, safety out of Georgia, with the 27th pick. Like this Mike Green pick, man. Mike Green, edge out of Marshall. I think this is a Mike Green projected first round pick, slid to the second round. Ravens got a steal there, I believe. Also got a steal with Emory Jones Jr., tackle out of LSU. Teddy Buchanan, linebacker out of California. Carson Benson, tackle out of Alabama. So Ravens attacking the trenches, man. I know Coach will like that. Bilal Cone, cornerback. So they pick up a corner in the 6th round. They had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th-round picks. A kicker. There you go. Tyler Loop out of Arizona. LeJontay Webster. People familiar with out of Colorado. Aeneas Peebles, D tackle out of Virginia Tech. I think that's a sneaky good pick up as well. Robert Longerbeam, Rutgers. There you go, Coach. And Garrett Dillinger, guard out of LSU. That's a sneaky good pick too.
That's a sneaky good pick.
The Ravens had a very, very solid draft. They had a lot of draft picks too, so able to add to their team while also not losing a lot, as we just mentioned, man. But what's your thoughts on the Ravens draft, man? I think it's pretty dang on good. But talk to him.
What I like about their draft is their second round pick, Mr. Mike Green. I think he's going to be a dominant edge rusher for them in the coming years, man. He looks like a Raven. He plays like a Raven. I think he's going to be pretty doggone good for the Ravens this upcoming season. Then Malachar Starks in the first round at safety. That was my second favorite pick of them because they needed a safety help to go back there with Hamilton. So he's gonna be decent out there with them. Those two young guys right there are gonna get it done for the Ravens this upcoming season. And I like a couple of other picks like Teddy Buchanan from California. I think he's gonna be a solid linebacker for them. And they just have good linebacker coaches over there with the Ravens. So, and they did a lot of things. LeJontay Webster, he can be sit on the bench for a year and he can come in and do what he does after learning from a D-Hop or somebody like that. But Coach, what you like about their draft this past season?
Where do I always go? The offensive line. And you see three offensive linemen. Two of them played together at LSU, and Jones and Dillinger. So that you're bringing in draft picks with a sense of continuity. NYG, you always talked about the quarterback and the receivers. Get the quarterback guys that he's familiar with. Well, these guys can come into the Baltimore system and they can learn together, and they know each other. They might even have certain little codes, because sometimes as offensive linemen, we have a certain language that we'll talk to each other that the opposition may not pick up on. So, and they're also familiar with how each other plays. So, I like the Webster pickup. Pat, you spoke about Green, coming off of those the edges. So, how do they develop him? That's another key factor. Look, Robert Longerbeam, I know him, following him at Rutgers, played very well in the Big Ten, was the number one cornerback for Rutgers last year. So he went up against some talented receivers. So he's not afraid. He can also get on special teams, and he can he can be impactful in coverage and also in the return game. So that's why he actually started at Rutgers, it developed, and then got onto the field. So smart kid, played high school ball actually in Virginia. So he's from the Virginia area. So he has that type of innate ability to go out there and play and be smart. So overall, yeah, I'm with you guys. I like this draft for Baltimore. They attacked. They not only attacked, a couple of pieces that you were like, okay, when they lost a few pieces, but they brought with them young talent that they can develop not only for this year but down the road. So
yeah, definitely, Coach. Speaking of down the road, man, let's take a look at their depth chart and let's see how this roster looks, and let's see if it is built for the future and to get the most out of this window, this championship window that they have. Looking at their wide receiver core, I'm talking about D-Hop, Rashad Bateman, and Zay Flowers. I think that's solid.
Yeah,
that is solid. You know what I'm saying? Tez Walker, last year's draft pick, he's there. Tylen Wallace and Wester, as we just mentioned. So they got a solid group, I believe, there at the wide receiver positions. Offensive line, again, this is key. Coach always talks about Ronnie Stanley, who they brought back. They got Andrew Voorhees, Tyler Lindenbaum, Daniel Falele, and Roger Rossengardner. But again, it's going to be a lot dependent upon this group to establish the run game. Some good backups, though. They did add some depth there, and they really attacked that position in free agency as well. So good job there by the Ravens. Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely at tight end. Those two guys just need to be consistent, man. But when they're consistent and they're on their game, they're two of the best combination in the league. Probably the best combination of tight ends as far as a 1-2 punch is concerned. Derrick Henry and you know what I'm saying? Can't say enough about Derrick Henry here. Lamar Jackson, we know what he does, and Patrick Ricard, the fullback, a very key component in their running attack. This defense, though, I think is going to be key as far as how far the Ravens go. I want you guys to speak on that. I want you guys to speak on this roster as well, but talk a little bit about the defense and what is this group good enough to carry this team, man, as far as getting them to that championship level.
Yeah, the Ravens, as far as defensive wise, they're legit, man. The Ravens are legit as far as defensive wise. They're gonna get after the quarterback. They're gonna make solid tackles. They're gonna get interceptions. They're gonna do a lot of things as far as the defense. It's all about to be honest with you, bro. This whole roster is legit. They just got to stop the self wounds when they get in the playoffs. That's it. If they stop the self-inflicted wounds when they get into the playoffs, they can beat teams like the Chiefs. They can beat teams like the Bills. It's really up to them. Like, what do they have, like, anxiety or something when it comes to the playoffs or something? Like, it's kind of weird, bro. Like, the regular season, they look unstoppable. After they had that one little hiccup in the beginning of the season, they look pretty. They were like 12-3 after those first two games. You know what I'm saying? And they get to the playoffs, they punish the first team, and then they just get to the Bills, and it just, I don't know, man. It's always a fumble. You know what I'm saying? It's always a drop pass or uncharacteristic interception, throwing into triple man coverage, or they just get away from Ravens football when they get into the playoffs. Run the ball. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to have Lamar Jackson to be the superstar. Run the ball. But roster-wise, I can't say anything bad about this roster from top to bottom. It's a legit roster, man. Coach, I don't know.
Coach, what do you think? What do you think about this roster? And in particular, now they got a good secondary. You talk about Cal Hamilton. They drafted Malachi Stark, signed Jair Alexander, so Marlon Humphrey's still there. Talk about the linebacker core: Roquan Smith, Trent Simpson, Cal Van Noy, Pat Carr, Old Man Van Noy. He's still over there. But up front, Broderick Washington, Travis Jones, Matabuke. I mean, again, their problem is the Chiefs. That's what we've been talking about, right? So that's why I'm looking at it too, not just the offense, but can this defense stop Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense, or even, a Josh Allen type? Talk to him, Coach.
One thing before I dive into all of that is I just bringing this up. You showed me something too. I talked about familiarity with the offensive linemen for coming over from LSU that they drafted. Robert Longerbean has a teammate from Rutgers on the team. Desmond Igbinosun came over. He played last year with Rutgers with Robert. So I'm surprised to see that. So, and I forgot that he did sign there. So, that can also help both of them going forward. Defensively, this looks like a very strong defensive team. So, it's going to come down to their execution, first of all, and getting over the hump. And getting over the hump is not even the physical aspect, it's the mental aspect. Because during those critical moments, when things get tight, do you start to feel the pressure and start to say, oh boy, here we go again, as opposed to, you know what, we have this, we can fight through this, we can do what we have to do. Overall, Pat said it, this is a championship caliber team. This really is. So, based on all of that, being coached up, the young players developing and contributing to, what this team has. And really, it's heavily veteran laden, especially in the starting group. You have one young player in Malachi Stark projected to start. So, that's the thing that you want to do. Most of them are in the second unit, so that's where player development comes into play. But if they all can give you something, this is definitely a championship caliber program going forward. So the expectation is even higher now, and it comes down to, I said it before, and you were right when you said it's not about the opponent per se, but sometimes it is about the opponent. You don't want to give the opponent credit, but sometimes it just falls down to, you still got to respect the opponent. And, when you're playing against a championship caliber opponent and it gets to those critical moments, and a team like this in the past has wilted under those situations, they have to overcome that. And right there, it's 90% mental, in my opinion. It really is, because this team has the physical tools to win a championship.
Yeah, well said, Coach. And speaking of opponents, I talked about it earlier. They got the ninth as far as toughest strength of schedule. We know that doesn't mean that's not the end all be all, because teams change and it is based on off last year. But 11 and a half for this Ravens squad is their projected win total. We go over under here, man, but just taking a look at the schedule real quick, they open up at Buffalo. That's a tough one off the rip. Then you get Cleveland, Detroit at the crib, then Kansas City. We've been talking about these teams that this Ravens team has to step up and start to challenge and beat, and that's Kansas City 1, Buffalo 2. They got They got Houston on the schedule. That's going to be another contender. Well, some people think so. You know, you got the Rams on the schedule. You know, Pittsburgh in your division, Cincinnati in your division. So you know they're at Green Bay, and at Pittsburgh to end the season. You know, you got Minnesota on your schedule. So again, it's the Ravens are gonna earn it this year. But 11.5 though, too high, too low, over or under, man. What y'all think about this schedule?
Well, first and foremost, there's a couple of things I want to say about this schedule. Weeks 3 through 6, Detroit, Kansas City, Houston, Rams, and weeks 13 through 18 is a gauntlet. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. You get a reprieve in New England, and Green Bay, Pittsburgh. Now, if Pittsburgh, you know, turns out to be what Pittsburgh is, a scrappy team that always finds their way in the playoffs, those are going to be some tough games. Cincinnati twice, tough games. Green Bay, tough game. Then you got Detroit, Kansas City, Houston, and the Rams back to back to back to back. Those are the two spurts in this season where it's going to determine what this Ravens team is about. 11.5, I'm going to go over 11.5 because it's just what the Ravens do. And they run the ball. So that's why when they do play tough teams, they can beat those tough teams because they run the ball extremely well. And Derrick Henry has not slowed down at all.
Yeah.
So I give them above the 11-5. I'll give them their usual 12 to 13 wins this season. But it is going to be a tough schedule, and it is going to be a great watch this season because them versus Buffalo week 1, that's a huge game. Going against Detroit trying to bounce back from their playoff woes last year. Kansas City, are they still the same? Houston, can they get back to rookie CJ Stroud? The Rams are always the Rams. And you know the Bengals and Pittsburgh and the Ravens, that's just AFC North football. And the Packers towards the end of the season, if they have something to play for, that's going to be a good game. So, yeah, the Ravens schedule is legit, but I still think they get the 12 wins. Coach, what you think?
Looking at this schedule, I mean, you're going up against the NFC North, the AFC East, as far as your crossover divisions. But, you know, it's tough. Pat, you talked about weeks 3. I'm including week 1. You know, in a sense, the only reprieve, and it's still not a reprieve with Cleveland. You still also have Buffalo to start. Then on top of that, we talked about the Kansas City getting over at Kansas City. You're playing both Buffalo and Kansas City on the road. So that's tough in itself. And then, you know, I'm looking at it and it's interesting because after you start to see you play 2 home games, then you play 3 home games in a row, then 3 road games, then 3 home games on the road. It's like, you know, the NFL really didn't do them any favors. I mean, it's like you can't get into any type of a rhythm one way or another because you're playing either on the road in a cluster or at home in a cluster where you can get too comfortable. So, but they're all tough. You know, you speak about the AFC North games in itself to close out the season. Even the last 4 games, you're playing 3 or 4 on the road. You know, so it's tough. 12 wins, 11.5. I can go over with the 11.5 when I sit down and I really evaluate it. You know, especially if they can right off the bat, if they can get over Buffalo, I think it really can bode well for them. You know, going forward because you know Cleveland, as though it's going to be tough, you know, they're still trying to find themselves. So you know, you can position yourselves to go into that, you know, week 3 through 6 before the bye, that, you know what, if you can get Buffalo, that can build up your confidence. And then, you know, maybe you can say I can get Detroit and close out with 2 of the last 3. Then that can bode well for you going down the stretch. So, but it is a tough schedule, and I understand why it's the 9th toughest schedule, you know, in the league.
Yeah. The thing here that I think about is their division. And their division, you know, I think Pittsburgh's gonna give them a fight. Cincinnati's going to give them a fight, and Cleveland's going to give them a fight too. Cleveland's going to give the Baltimore Ravens a fight. They always do. It is a division rival game. So, you know, if they lose 2 or 3 in their division, you can count on them to probably lose 2 or 3 outside of the division. I'm going to go under here for the Baltimore Ravens. Just slightly under, though. I think they hit that 11-win-ish mark. You know what I'm saying? If they have injuries, I could see them as a 10-7 team as well. You know, but I don't think it's about the regular season with this team anymore. You got to show up for the playoffs. So even if you have to sacrifice some of the regular season accolades and wins, you know, Lamar Jackson getting these MVPs, you know, them reeling off 12, 13 wins a season, having the best record, having the best this, having the best that, rushing champions and all this different things like that. Worry about the playoffs. So, you know, if you got to sit some people down the stretch, you know, and not tank, but, you know, just rest some players and prepare for the long haul, which is the playoffs, you know, that's what you need to do this year, Baltimore Ravens, because it's not about the regular season no more. You know, I don't want to talk about this MVP, Lamar Jackson. That's MVP the playoffs. Be the Super Bowl MVP. Get that MVP trophy.
That's a
you know, that's what I want to see, man. So I'm going to go under. You know, I'm going to go under, but it needs to be under, you know, in a sense, because they need to be focused on the playoffs and not just winning. You know, you want to win your games and win your division, but, you know, at the end of the day, you know, if you're going through some things, some injuries or whatever, you know, it's okay to not, not be the number 1 seed or whatever, go in as a wild card. Wild card teams win all the time. You know, they win all the time. I just think this team needs to really prepare for the long, because what happens with the Baltimore Ravens too a lot of times is they get in the playoffs and then they get beat up, they get hurt, injured, things happen, mistakes happen, and it could be because you just long regular season. Now it's extra games, you know, an extra game, so it could be fatigue. You know, lack of focus. I don't know, mental fatigue maybe. So again, that's why I want them to, if I'm their coach or you know, GM or whatever in that organization, you know, I'm preparing more for the playoffs. We're going to win enough games to get to the playoffs, obviously, but let's not burn our players out during this long regular season, man. But that is my thoughts on the Ravens, and that is going to conclude our Baltimore Ravens portion. But we coming right back, man. We got 3 other teams to preview. So next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. But we're gonna be right back.